Good afternoon, Year 6. Now, I'm assuming you're going to be doing this lesson in the afternoon, hence me saying good afternoon. If it's the morning, I apologize. And if it's the evening, sorry. Right, guys. Now, today we're going to build on our knowledge from last week where we looked at organisms and how we could categorize them. We looked at 8 different groups of organisms in which they were categorized collectively last week. And today what we're going to try and do is consider how we might build on that knowledge of organisms to categorize them almost within subsections within those groups themselves. So first of all, we're going to think. I apologize for some of these slides. I know my hair is a bit odd at the moment, but the guy in the slides has really gone full pelt into very, very exciting hair. Now, this guy's asking us, how many different groups can you remember that are used to classify animals? So if you have a think, pause it. I've given you the number already. Great stuff. So I talked about a number. So carrying on, we can think of which ones we might have thought of. I said 8, but there may be more. We've got the idea of mammal, bird, and reptile. Are there any more that you can think of? Make a jot down if you can while you pause the video. Okay, hopefully you thought of those frogs, or those amphibians, those fish, those crustaceans as well. If you're running out of ideas now, try and really think back to last week's lesson. Thinking about insects, mollusks, and arachnids as well. Now, we've pushed past 8, we're at 9 now. Are there any more that you can squeeze out of your mind? Hopefully you've also thought of those ectoderms, annelids, and myriapods. Okay, so hopefully you thought of those. If you've remembered them, great. If not, maybe write them down. Maybe write them down twice. They'll sneak into your memory if you write them down a couple of times. Okay. Now, within these groups, we can see that not all animals are the same. So even within those 12 groups, that doesn't define that there are only 12 animals in the world. So if we look at the wolves, the dogs, the tigers, the lions, the goats, the badgers, the squirrels, the dolphins, we look at these birds, these bunnies, these pandas, and these monkeys. If we look at all of these beings, these are all part of the same group. See if you can think about what they are. Which of those 12 groups are they? That's your first challenge. Once you've thought of that and identified that, well done, they're mammals. Oh, I'm sure that you were saying that, Yusuf, at the back. Well done, mate. Now, what do you think they have in common? Okay. How are they the same as each other, and how are they different to each other? Do you having a look around, thinking about these, thinking about what's the same? Because these are all part of the same broad group. All of these mammals are mammals. However, some of them are different. Right. There are different ways then to split them into characteristics. Okay, we can think of them. If we look back to these, we can see that some of these eat certain types of things. We can see some of these have tails. We can see that some of these have physical characteristics which are similar, such as stripes. We can see some of these have colorings which are similar. We can see some of these have fur and some of these may not. Okay, so we can see different characteristics between these. Okay, so some are aquatic, while others live entirely on land. Some are carnivores, while others are herbivores. I know in year 3 they think about herbivores and carnivores. So I know that we know that meat eaters are carnivores, and I know that we know that herbivores eat only vegetation. Some have the number of legs, the length of legs they have. There are many differences then within these groups. We can subsection, we can subdivide them really effectively. Okay. So we've got our dolphin friend over here, aquatic carnivore. Okay, so it likes just to eat fish, doesn't eat any vegetables, doesn't have any legs, and has fins. Okay, and then we've got our gazelle over here, lives a land dweller, a herbivore, 4 legs, so 4 more than that dolphin that we've got over there, and with antlers. Okay, so we can divide these into subsections. We can subcategorize these. Okay. Now, if you have a think about these, we've got birds again. Now, birds, they're not all the same. If we look out of our window, if we maybe set up a bird feeder, we won't just see the same birds come in every day. I'd be surprised if you saw any toucans or flamingos come in, but I would or any eagles, come to say. Well, it would be a bit of a shock to see any penguins as well. However, I would expect you to see some robins. So what does that tell you about where we are and what kind of climate these different birds like? If you look at the robin, do you notice anything that's similar about the robin and the flamingo in terms of its colouring? Do you notice anything about the way that the swan looks in comparison to the eagle? Have they both got the same size wings, or are they both quite small wings? Are the beaks of all birds the same? And I hear you say, no, 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 no. We remember our evolution lesson, Mr. Spring, looking at those finches that Darwin explored around the Galapagos Islands. We can remember all that. Are all birds nocturnal? Do they all just come out at night like our owl friends? Or do some of them come out in the daytime? Is the toucan's beak exactly the same type, as same size as all of them? So how could you subcategorize these? Okay. Once you've thought about that, we're going to go on to what today's work is. Okay, there's 3 elements to today's work. I'm going to go through all 3 elements as part of this. Okay, and I think talking about the work will actually kind of build you up a bit more of an understanding of how you subcategorize the organisms. So the first thing is we're going to think back about those birds. Okay, so we're going to think back about these birds. If we look back at them, what have they all got in common? Now, some of you might simply say they can all fly, and I'll just remind you about our penguin friend over here, and then I'll query that. Okay, so have a think before you say they can all fly. So the first element of our sheet looks at what they've all got in common. Then, within those different species of birds, you're asked to think about how they're different. So 3 differences between them. And as I say, remembering your penguin friend and remembering his attitude and her attitude towards flying, what does that tell you? What do you learn about colouring of the different birds? What do you learn about whether the birds are ground dwellers or tree dwellers? What do you learn about how maybe in our flamingo friend, how they stand? Interestingly, we know that the flamingo stands on one leg to avoid both its legs becoming cold by standing in cold water in the South American water. What do you notice about the plumage upon them? What do you think about our owly friend? Are they all out at the same time at night, or are they out at different times? Do they all eat the same thing? Do they all swoop down to collect living prey, or do they sometimes move in different manners? Okay, so have a think about that. Are they all the same colour, both genders, or are, as with some of our birds that we might see if we go to a park, do the genders dictate which colouring they have? Okay, so have a think about that and the sizes and all these different characteristics of them, and then complete this sheet. Okay, so once you've completed the sheet, okay, you'll then work on to our second piece of work, and I think this one's where you really start to be more of an independent investigator and a more of an independent thought process. Okay, so the second element is you've got all these different mammals, and with these different mammals, what I'd like you to do is try and distinguish them. Now, it might be that you choose to take this as a leap-off point where you now go and do some research into one of these or many of these mammals yourself, or it might be you just look at the picture. Now, when you've looked at the picture, you can have a think. Well, if I pick my kangaroo, that could be in one section. Now, I know my kangaroo has got, well, this is an interesting one. Some people call a kangaroo what's called a pentapod, because some people think it's got its 4, so its front arms, its back legs, and its tail, so 5 points that touch the floor. Some people think it's a quadrupod, but I think it's a pentapod, because I think the idea of it being a pentapod with that tail acting as a point which leaps off is quite exciting. Now, if we've got a pentapod with 5 legs, we've then got our 4-legged beast over here. We've got our elephant, and although its trunk does touch the floor sometimes, it's not really a pentapod. Its trunk doesn't lever it up, so it's a quadrupod. So it's got 4. Now, if we've got another group, I could put something in the middle here. I could put my fox in the middle here. What's the same about a fox and a kangaroo? Is there something that's the same about both of them? I'm not sure. Can I think of anything? Can I think of anything? Can I think of anything? Is there a reason I could label that? Is there a way I could justify that? Because I know that both the kangaroo and the fox have similar colours. I know that both the elephant and the fox are both 4-legged beasts. So I can start thinking about that. So as you develop your sorting circles, you can start to develop a way that you can link these together. And what I'd like you to do at the culmination of the work, after you've cut up or drawn all your images of your mammals, is label the sorting circles so you can think about how they're sorted together. Okay. It might be based on the colouring. So if you think about your adaptations, it might be other features of them. It might be about how many legs they are, whether they're pentapods or quadrupods or bipods, okay? So singular. Or like our dolphin friend earlier, about whether they have no legs at all. Okay, so you can think about that. And maybe their diet as well, and think about how you sort them. Okay, so with the mammals, then you can find different ways of sorting them. And finally, you've then got your flowers. Okay, your lovely, lovely flowers. Now, again, if you want to do this as a leap off point where you research, that would be fantastic. It'd be really interesting if you could do some research into your hibiscuses and your lavender and your carrots and all these different flowers. And once you've got them, if you could identify different features of them and sort them in a similar way. It might be you just look visually at them and think, I've got this, I've got that. These are the same. So you could look at the colors of lavender and something else. You could look at the colors of the tulips here. But are all tulips the same color? You could think about whether some of these are edible and some are not edible. Are some poisonous? Do some grow in the wild, or do some need to be cultivated and have have people supporting them? So have a think about them, have a research about them, and then try and sort these into different ways. I look forward to seeing how you've sorted your different organisms, so your mammals. I look forward to seeing how you've sorted your different organisms, so your flowers and your plants. I also really look forward to seeing what you've spotted about the birds. Okay, so have a think about those three sections of organisms and how you sort them through. Thank you, Year 6, for listening today. I'm really excited to see what you've done. I can't wait.